Hello, good afternoon. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments so that I may answer your questions. Now, I have a great topic for you. I am going to be talking about getting the green card through your permanent resident spouse. Not only can you get the green card through your US citizen spouse, but you can get it through your permanent resident spouse as well. I think there is that misconception that you have to wait until your spouse is a US citizen. In some cases, that may be what you need to do, but in other cases, you may just go ahead and apply for that green card through your permanent resident spouse. Now, an example of where you don't have to wait to apply for the green card through your spouse and where you will still see a faster processing time is where you may be living outside of the country. So you're living outside of the country and you file through your permanent resident spouse, you're going to be on the same timeline as it would have been if your spouse was a US citizen. So that's right now, it's not always the case that it gets to be on the same timeline as being with a US citizen spouse. However, there's no wait list at this time. That's why it's so important that if you do have a permanent resident spouse, that you go ahead and schedule a consultation to make sure you qualify and get started right away. So when you're outside of the country and you have a permanent resident spouse, it's a two-step process. So the first is to file that I-130 petition and then wait for them to make a decision. Once they make this decision, you'll be going through the embassy to get a special type of visa called the immigrant visa. Once you enter the country with that visa, you become a permanent resident. Now, another common question I get though is I'm here in the US. Can I apply through my permanent resident spouse? The answer is maybe. It's best to apply, and that's through adjustment of status. Can you stay in the US and apply? Now, yes, you can and it's very important you perk up those ears now to hear what those conditions are. If you're here legally right now, you're in status right now, and your priority date is current, which it is. So the priority date is current right now. And if you're here on a student visa, on a visitor's visa, and you qualify in every other way for the adjustment of status, then yes, you can do it now. And I would urge you to schedule a consultation to confirm that you qualify, because we still have to go through all the other requirements to make sure there's nothing that will disqualify you from this process. But what you need to know right now in order to move forward, to take that step to get the assistance you need, is that you can apply through your permanent resident spouse with a current immigrant visa number. It's current right now. The question is, do you have a current status? And are you here on that current status? So go ahead, schedule if you would like a consultation. But now let's talk about if you're out of status. You're out of status and you're here in the United States. You're in a situation where you can't leave to get the green card. Is there a way to apply for permanent residence while staying here? Now, if you're doing it through your spouse, meaning your spouse is 100% involved in your process, they're going to be filing the petition along with you, it's not going to involve the adjustment of status process. And no, they will not allow you to stay for the entire process to apply for your permanent residence. But there is a way to still get the green card if you're in this situation. And that's through applying for permanent residence through the I-601A process. What the I-601 waiver does, so we file the I-130 petition. Once it's approved, we go ahead and we file the I-601A waiver. That waiver is in place to ask for forgiveness for the overstay. When approved, it still doesn't allow you to stay for the complete process. You get to stay while you're applying for the petition. You get to stay while you're applying for the waiver. Unfortunately, there's no work permit though, but it does allow you to stay here in the US while you wait for that process to be completed. And all being well, it's done properly, the waiver is approved. At that point, you will be able to apply for your green card at the embassy without worrying about being that overstay or that unlawful presence being held against you. So at the point that your interview is scheduled, you have an approved waiver, you can then fly to the interview and then fly back with that immigrant visa. You would be outside of the US for about 2 to 4 weeks while you finalize get the interview and then get the immigrant visa. Some people don't have a choice but this process. In your case, it really comes down to your personal circumstances to determine whether the waiver is going to be the best option. Where I see the waiver being the best option is where the spouse, the permanent resident spouse, is unable to get their citizenship for one reason or the other anytime soon. So for example, if the spouse is I did see one case where the spouse was not literate and the spouse could not read or write. And because of that, they were unable to pass a citizenship test. So they kept failing citizenship. And in this case, the spouse wanted to move forward with the waiver process because they were unable to wait for their spouse to be a citizen, because it was going to be a whole process for them to learn to read and write before they got their citizenship. Not to say it's impossible. You can go ahead. There are literacy centers available that would still allow you to go ahead and learn to read and write to prepare for the citizenship test. I actually volunteered at one of these organizations. So I know that it is possible, and I've seen people go through it and successfully go from not being able to read and write to completing the citizenship and getting what they deserved. So that is possible. But, in this person's case, they did not want to wait and they wanted to move forward because they felt like the time it was going to take for their spouse to learn to read and write and then pass the citizenship was going to take too long. So that's one situation. The other situation is where your spouse just got permanent residence. Maybe they got permanent residence through a parent, and they're not going to become a citizen for the next 5 years. In that case, applying for the waiver process, it probably takes 2 to 3 years. So it would work better to just go through the waiver process than to wait those 5 years for your spouse to become a US citizen. Those are two examples, but it really comes down to what's going on in your case. And that's where it's very, very, very important to schedule that consultation, because your personal circumstances, I have to look into those to give you proper legal advice. So don't take any information I provide you today and do anything on your own until at least you get legal advice. You can do that by going to the link in the profile. The link is where you can schedule your own appointment. There's a number to call. There's a website you can go to. There's online chat on the website. There's a contact form. So many different ways for you to get in touch and take those steps to make sure that you're protected and your interest is protected. So, in a nutshell, if you have a permanent resident spouse, you need to explore your options to gain permanent residence through that spouse, because it is possible and is now the time to do it. It may very well be for you. There is a way, either through the I-601A waiver process or through the adjustment of status, where you get to stay here and apply. I do want to mention a third option. If your permanent resident spouse is mistreating you and they're not filing anything for you and you're here in the United States, they're mistreating you, know that there is also the process to apply on your own. I would have to evaluate what's going on, the extent of the mistreatment. But if you're being mistreated verbally, mentally, emotionally, financially, when I say financially, are they preventing you from working? Are they taking all your money from work? Are they forcing you to pay all the bills? Are they forcing you to pay all the expenses? So if you are in a situation like this, then the applying on your own without the spouse that's mistreating you, whether they're a permanent resident or a US citizen, can also be an option. In this case, you could be out of status and apply. You could have crossed the border without permission and apply for this. There could be even certain inadmissibilities that you could have that would enable you to apply for this status and eventually get a green card. So just keep that third option in mind. If that you cannot rely on your permanent resident to apply, permanent resident spouse to apply, and they are mistreating you, then there is this third option that you could think about, and that does allow you to adjust status. That means to stay in the United States and apply for permanent residence. All right, so I'm gonna go to questions. Thanks for sharing the live. Thanks for all the love. I appreciate it. So let's go. I'm gonna go ahead. How can I report my ex-husband or find out if he got US passport or not? I wouldn't be able to advise on how to report anyone to the immigration service. So if I'm already married to my spouse, a US citizen, and have my marriage certificate, do I still need my passport for the approval? So no, it depends. It's always best to have your current passport, but if it's expired, you could still move forward with the process. Move forward with the process while it's pending. You could renew your passport, but you can apply with an expired passport. It's not necessary for you to have a current passport to move forward with the process. Hi there, I'm good and I hope you're well too. Can you apply for the travel document? So I noticed you said you passed your immigration case 30 days ago. I would have to find out where you are in the process to determine whether you can apply, and I'd have to find out what process are you talking about to apply for a travel document. Usually the travel document, you'd apply for it while you're going through your adjustment of status to be able to re-enter the country after leaving. So I don't know where are you, what status are you, what are you applying for? I got my green card. How can they hold on my passport? So if you got your green card, nobody should be holding on to your passport. They don't need your passport to issue a green card. So I would be concerned about that. To deter, I don't know, did you get your permanent residence through the immigration court? Did they have your passport there? Otherwise, that sounds very, very strange. What if active? So what if active duty? I don't see I can't get any context on that. Active duty, it may allow you to expedite, but it really comes down to what the situation is. Usually when I see active duty, it's related to a question about speeding up the process. Thanks for the follows, by the way. Can I travel to Puerto Rico with my asylum case pending? So Puerto Rico is a US territory. Whether it's advisable to leave the mainland, though, is going to come down to what your personal circumstances are. For example, you're going through the airport and you go on a plane and go, it is a territory, but I would have to advise whether you in particular can travel there. I would have to understand more about your case. How long does it take? Let's see. Great questions. Keep those. How long does it take to get your permit in Colorado Springs? You'd have to look at the service center. So it's not based necessarily on the state or the town even. You'd have to look at where's the service center and how long are they taking? What happens if green card expire while waiting on removal of status? you can go ahead. You're supposed to get an extension letter. If that extension letter has expired, you can make an appointment through InfoPass at a USCIS office, and they will give you an I-551 stamp. The I-551 stamp usually is for a year, and it serves as the same purpose as a green card. You'll get it in your passport. So do not travel, do not leave the country until you get that proof of your permanent residence stamp called an I-551 stamp. What if I have a criminal record? I'm married to a US citizen. Is it possible? Can I get a spouse visa? It is possible. But when it comes down to a criminal record, I have to evaluate what type of criminal record to determine whether you can go all the way to get the spouse visa or adjust status here. But it is possible. Don't assume that because you have past offenses or a criminal record that it's going to automatically disqualify you. It may not, but I have to evaluate in it. That's definitely going to be a consultation. So go to the link in the profile, schedule, and we'll talk. What if you have 2-year green card and you're married to a person? Do you have to go in with the person? If you're filing jointly with them, it is a requirement that they go to the interview. If that interview is scheduled, keep in mind that they just issued policy guidance that says if the application is done well and they get the right evidence to show that your marriage is real, you may just get the green card in the mail. So that's all the more why you should make sure that your application is done properly. I received my advance parole but lost my original passport with stamp. Is it okay to travel to Jamaica? So you're gonna need your passport to get back in. And if you have a passport, now advance parole also, it depends on what type, but it also comes on a card. So you know, make sure you get legal guidance here. At a minimum, contact the USCIS to determine what's going on, because you should have a card showing you have advance parole. I have pending asylum after my F1. Can my sibling get F1? So it's going to be based on, you know, how does your sibling qualify? Your sibling has to independently qualify. And that's what we'd have to figure out in a consultation. Hi, good afternoon. I have a question. Missed the oath ceremony twice because of COVID. I'm so sorry. You'll have to contact the USCIS to have them reschedule that oath ceremony for you. How much does it cost to start the process for a married spouse? It's going to depend on the consultation and what I learn about you as a married couple in the consultation. That's where I provide the codes to schedule the consultation. That's where you get the legal advice. That's where I confirm you qualify. Every one of my clients have to qualify first. And that's why I advise in the consultation and I determine, because it is for you in that you get the legal advice, but it's also for me to make sure that you qualify and that I can represent you. And that's where, based on what is going to be required, I'm going to issue you a code sheet. Do you have to go in with them for a 10-year if you guys are still married? Yes, because you're filing jointly. Unless you are filing by yourself. You can file by yourself in the case of divorce if they're mistreating you. Now, let's see. Thanks for the follow, everyone. Thanks for the love. I appreciate it. How long does it take to obtain a work visa? It depends on what type of work visa. Is immigration law rewarding? Absolutely, it is. It is. How to reach you? I'm looking for an attorney. So definitely go to the link in the profile and you'll see all that you need to get in touch. You'll have a button to schedule your own appointment. You'll have the button for the website. You can go to the Instagram page to be able to see more of the content. So there are a number of ways to get in touch there. How long is it taking for work permit these days? It's almost 10 months since I applied. Right, some are taking long. After marriage, how long should I wait to put in my paper if I marry a US citizen? Definitely going to require consultation. It depends on what's going on in your case. Spatial logs, you're welcome. How long after having L1 visa can I apply for the green card? It's going to come down to, you know, your circumstances. How long have you had the L1 and do you qualify for the green card? Would it affect their status? So I don't know what the context is. Now I see so many questions, and what I can tell you is I'm going over to Instagram to continue the live there. You can click on the link in the profile. It's going to take you, one of the options is Instagram. There's also an Instagram logo on the page. For those of you who have Instagram, join me there. I'm also on Facebook. I'm ST Law Office on Facebook. ST as in Tom, Law Office. You can go to that page on Facebook. I'm going to log on there and do the live there. Go ahead, join me there where you can, the people who I did not get to address your questions, you can follow up there with me and we can continue the conversation. So thanks so much for all your questions. Join me tomorrow where you can come back with your questions. If you need specific legal advice, that's where you're going to have to call and schedule. I'm leaving it up to you to do the right thing for yourself. You deserve to make sure you do this right and that you get the advice you need to make the right moves in your immigration journey. That's what I'm here for, to help you with. So go to the link in the profile. You'll see everything you need to get in touch with me. I'm going to be on Instagram in a minute. I'm the Immigration Attorney. So at the Immigration Attorney on Instagram. Go ahead, join me there, or I'll see you tomorrow, or I'll speak with you in a consultation. Have a good one. Bye-bye.